York Magazine has just put out a pretty bombshell expose on Congresswoman Nancy Mace, a Republican. In fact, the title of the piece is "Nancy Mace is not okay. Something's broken, the motherboard's fried. We're short-circuiting somewhere." It's written by Jake LaHutte, and I'm about to give you some excerpts, but before I do, Cenk, just based on title alone, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so Nancy Mace is cray-cray. You're gonna see that in a minute. You're gonna see the details of it. But at the same time, I do wonder why this story comes out now. So there's an interesting theory about that. I'll share that with you in a minute.
Yeah. Now look, I am not debating Cenk on the cray-cray allegations because we've all seen Nancy Mace engage in some crazy rhetoric and behavior. And a lot of that is outlined in this lengthy piece. So author Jake LaHutte spoke to multiple former staffers of Representative Nancy Mace, whose support has been cut nearly in half since October. And many of them are worried for her, citing multiple examples of what they deem erratic behavior. So I'll go over what they've been claiming, and you can decide for yourselves if you think she's been engaging in erratic behavior. Her staffers, as well as many inside the Republican Party, thought she had potential, a willingness to both take risky, heterodox positions and to submit enthusiastically to the ludicrous demands of the modern attention economy. She could come off as a bit nuts, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing in the age of Trump. We live in hell. That's where we live in hell. But I'll continue. Further, they write that one person close to Mace recalled the way Bill Maher described meeting Trump for the first time. In this person's experience, Mace was not a crazy person, but someone who played one on TV. 5 years in, however, it's unclear if Mace actually knows the difference between the two, according to former staffers. Quote, "We've moved past that now," the person said. "Something's broken, the motherboard's fried. We're short-circuiting somewhere." So there are more details and examples that I'll give you in just a minute. But remember, these are former staffers, but she has engaged in some crazy behavior, right? Like her, I'll give you an example. So it is totally fine, especially as a Republican lawmaker, to raise questions about, transgender healthcare for minors, right? Like that's an issue that they purport to care a lot about. But Nancy Mace went out of her way to be dehumanizing to transgender people, referring to them with, a slur and all of that over and over again during House hearings. And to me, that is not the sign of someone who actually wants to get to the bottom of the issue and eventually vote on legislation that's going to benefit people's lives. To me, that's the sign of someone who's just engaging in rhetoric and theater for attention, not because she's actually interested in serving as a public servant who's looking to draft policy that's gonna benefit society.
Nancy Mace has had one good vote, and that's why this story might have come out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. She voted in favor of releasing the Epstein files. Like let's like not waste our time right now, okay? She voted in favor of it despite the fact that Trump pulled her in along with Lauren Boebert and other Republicans and told them not to. They did anyway. Now, look, at the same time, New York Magazine, not exactly Trump lovers.
No. So that's not how it works. It works with leaks. So the person receiving the leak doesn't have to be on Trump's side, doesn't have to be on Israel's side, doesn't have to be on Epstein's side, but the person doing the leaking. So now we've seen this 1,000 times, right? So it's not to defend Nancy Mace. She's said terrible things, and she's apparently terrible to her staffers. And you saw it with all the stunts. We don't have to prove it to you with the driving down to DC in her pajamas or driving up to DC.
I forgot about that.
Right, like just weirdo stuff, right? Like all of it can be summarized at, look at me, daddy, look at me, right? And so, okay, I got it, but we knew that before. So I remember with Madison Cawthorn, I think he's in a lot of ways a spectacular example of it. So another guy who's a right winger, didn't agree with him at all on policy. All of a sudden he speaks out against Republicans and how they're having orgies behind the scenes and cocaine and all.
Which we should all believe.
By the way, at the time I thought that's a ridiculous conspiracy theory.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, now that I've seen the Epstein files and now that I saw what they did to him,
Yeah.
I think, oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah, pervy wankers, a lot of them.
So I don't know what the hell's going on in that Senate, but it is nuts. The people in power are the very, very worst of us, and they do crazy stuff behind the scenes. So Madison Cawthorn says all sorts of crazy stuff, never gets in trouble. The minute he outs Republicans like that, boom, the secret file comes out. Oh, he was dressed like a woman once, and he did this, and he did that, and they show Madison and they redistrict him, and they show him the door. Okay.
Yeah, that could be the case with Nancy Mace. There's no question about it. But let me give you some more of the dirt that New York Magazine published here. They write that staffers say Mace would command them to bring her liquor after midnight to keep parties going at her home, which is technically an abuse of her, that should be considered an abuse of her office, according to House rules. Look, when I worked for her, our poor scheduler was getting calls at 2 o'clock in the morning to come bring her bottles of tequila. A former staffer claimed of incidents they recalled going back to 2021. So here's the thing that people in positions of power, regardless of where we're talking about, right? The context could be Congress, it could be the office, whatever, right? People in positions of power who get others who maybe even report to them to do like these little errands are so stupid. First of all, you are abusing people, don't do that. That's immoral and I'm against it. But also, eventually they're not gonna be working for you. You don't think they're gonna out you? You're a public figure, why are you so dumb?
And it's called DoorDash. Just order the freaking liquor online, who cares? Like, what do you, okay. But look, we can give you the whole thing, but honestly, like, I'm not surprised by any of it. And
she made them clean her Airbnb properties.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
Okay, literally, like that's what they're claiming. So they say she made her aides clean multiple properties. She was renting out on Airbnb instead of paying for a maid. On election night 2022, for example, Mace instructed aides to spiff up her guilty. $3.9 million home in Isle of Palms for a watch party, according to a former staffer with direct knowledge. She would routinely do the same when she rented out her Washington townhouse. I literally cannot imagine asking anybody. Can you imagine asking a producer? Like, yo, I don't have time, I'm gonna have a party tonight. Can you go liquor run? Can you clean my Airbnb that I'm getting passive income from, please? I can't afford to hire a maid.
It's a $3.9 million house. You could definitely afford a maid. So look, but no one has to convince me Nancy Mace is not a great person. But guys, I'm back to the secret files because this not only, what I don't want you to do is if you're on the left, go, okay, well, but I hate Nancy Mace and Matt Gaetz, that's another guy they did it to, Madison Cawthorn, etc. And conveniently, when they out other Republicans or other donors or Epstein or Israel, all of a sudden the secret file comes out, right? But even if you say, yeah, but I hate him and I'm good with it, they also do it to the left. You think they don't do it to the left? Where do you, I mean, every story about Bernie Sanders, they had to dig and dig and dig. And they were like, he has a house. Like, I mean, they would come up with the most absurd things, right? He wrote a book and made money, right? And so thank God the guy's nearly a saint on that side. So a lot of that stuff didn't land. And they did it to me. If you don't know the story, when I formed Just Democrats, and then when I ran for Congress, they literally called every woman that ever worked at Young Turks because they were digging, trying to create a secret file. And they couldn't find anything there, so they had to keep digging. They asked, I mean, the way that they routinely targeted me was amazing. And so, by the way, I take it as a great point of pride. Thank you, apparently you think that I could actually do some positive change. Otherwise, they don't target you like that. And so that's why I feel like I already got my file on Nancy Mace. I don't need any extra information about her. So I want to almost like, as a matter of principle, disregard anything that's a hit job from the people trying to protect Epstein.
Okay, but to be fair, we don't know.
No, I know, I guarantee it. I don't know it like as in they told me and I have an inside source, but this is hit job 101.
No, it's definitely
She was one of only 4 Republicans that voted to release the Epstein files. Trump said he's never gonna help her again. He won't endorse her if she runs for governor of South Carolina. And then the New Yorker wound up getting, New York Magazine wound up getting a leak. Wow, look at that. And by the way, who also voted against Epstein files? Marjorie Taylor Greene, or in favor of releasing them. And what happened? She's a traitor, and then all of a sudden now we got hit jobs on Marjorie Taylor Greene and etc. So anyone who doesn't play ball with the system on the left or the right is going to get a character assassination. And now in Nancy Mace's case, that character, they're beating a dead horse, right? But they are trying to assassinate her character, and so I think just know where it's coming from. So as bad as Nancy Mace is, the people doing this are more evil than her. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.